Hello, BookTube. We're going through my 2024 library tour, and we are on Bookcase 3. We are getting close to finishing Bookcase number 3. We're at the pinnacle, the peak of Bookcase number 3. So there's no more shelves. We're just dealing with stacks of books. And they're double stacked. And originally I thought that meant that it would take several videos. But it turns out that doing a double stack of books is entirely possible in one video. So we're going to do that again. And as usual, it helps when you have a block of things. And in this case, we start off with a big block of Louis L'Amour. I found a bunch of Louis L'Amour just recently. The book gods pushing me towards June on the Range, a big booktube event coming up in just a few days where we read Westerns. I had planned on reading lots and lots of Westerns, lots of different authors, but I kept finding Louis L'Amour mass market paperbacks. Just kept finding them with all these different cover designs and cover illustrators. And I haven't had a chance, I haven't put them with any of the other Western novels that I have because June on the Range is right around the corner. I'm obviously going to be reading some of these things, but some of these are just wonderful. They look very enticing. Some of them, a couple of them, I think I have read before, but some of them not. And with Louis L'Amour, I have found that a couple of June on the Ranges ago, I found that rereading him is just as enjoyable as reading him. So that's a big block. That's a lot of stuff to get us going here. Then the next book is something we have seen many, many times before in this library tour. This is another beaten-up copy of The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. This one with a Steve-made cover, made 50 years ago out of tape and more tape. Oh, good. We have a Penguin classic of Northanger Abbey. This should not be here. This absolutely should not be here. Let's put that aside. We have Hail, Hail, the Gang's All Here by Ed McBain. This salacious cover. Tiny half-hour read of crime fiction, police procedural. These are a bit on my mind as well. At the moment, not so much for Ed McBain, who has never yet really pleased me as an author, but rather for the whole idea of a police procedural, of writing a police procedural. Police procedural that doesn't end up being just, as the kids say, copaganda. But that's a subject for our writing video. Then we have Barbara Cartland. This is the Golden Gondola. When you've read one Barbara Cartland, you have almost certainly read them all. But this one is, I have not read them all. No one has read them all. But this was set in Venice. So, okay, then we have an Oxford World Classics. This is The French Revolution by Thomas Carlyle. Big, fat paperback that, as far as I know, Penguin Classics has never seen fit to do an unabridged French Revolution for Thomas Carlyle. I don't know why, but this is terrific. It's just a storm cloud of a book. But it doesn't belong here, obviously. The classics are going to go together. When all of this is said and done, classics are going to go together. Then we have The Best of Jack Williamson, one of these best of series from Del Rey. This is the one that originally started me rethinking Jack Williamson. I'm very glad that it did because I've been really enjoying the results. I've been really enjoying rereading all of him. Okay, then we have a tiny little block here of something that we've seen before. We saw this yesterday. Is that right? Just yesterday? No, it wasn't yesterday. It must have been the day before because it's very recent. We just saw this. If it's really accessible, that would be great. No, it's not really accessible. All right, well, but it's really nearby. Just the other day, we saw a Cormac McCart novel. This is Robert E. Howard fan fiction by Andrew Offutt, who's terrific. And God, I don't know where that disappeared to. I thought that was just yesterday. And here are two others. Here are When Death Birds Fly and Sword of the Gale. Two more Cormac McCart, not Conan pastiche novels, but Hyperborean Age pastiche novels. I wish I could see where the other one went. What was the name of it? We just saw it just the other day. It'd be so great if I could. I mean, I'm going to reorganize all this anyway, but it would be so great if I could just put those together right now. No. All right. Well, maybe I separated it. But anyway, those are really good basically Conan pastiche novels. Then we have another block here because we have duplicates, I'm just noticing. This is Echoes of Valor. Great anthology series of by Karl Edward Wagner of Sword and Sorcery Fantasy. I wish I had all of these. I once upon a time did. For some reason, I have 2 copies of just the one volume, and I think I have a 1 copy of one other, but they don't. Thanks to loathsome book dealers, they don't show up anymore at used bookstores or Goodwills or charity shops or anything, and they're like $75 each online. These stupid, cheap little mass market paperbacks. Thanks to book dealers. Thanks to the worst people in the world. Okay, then we have another copy of Three from the Legion by Jack Williamson. This should go right with the best of Jack Williamson volume. And we've already seen... yeah, okay, it's the very bottom book. We've already seen, that's a double. Three from the Legion is a double. It's just classic science fiction. We have a small anthology volume, A Little Treasury of Modern Poetry, edited by Oscar Williams. It's a cute little paperback here with the usual suspects in it. We have Eric Frank Russell, Wasp. An old science fiction novel. I don't think this is quite old enough to make Rocket Summer. Oh, no, it is. Yes, this paperback came out in 1971, but the book came out in 1957. So this counts for Rocket Summer, which is another BookTube event coming up this summer, coming up in July. Then we have A.E. Van Vogt. This is Destination Universe. Not possible to have a destination that isn't universe, but what about... this is a collection of short stories. When did this come out? 1952. So this definitely counts for Rocket Summer. I really ought to set aside all of my science fiction paperbacks that do count for Rocket Summer, as they will be my reading list. Then we have Today We Choose Faces by Roger Zelazny, this great old paperback here, which this will certainly not qualify for Rocket Summer. No, 1973. 1970 is the cutoff for Rocket Summer. We have Night Wings by Robert Silverberg, probably the worst cover I've ever seen for this book, but you never see Silverberg in paperback anymore, mainly thanks to those same insectile dealers. I really, really wish, I mean, they aren't human, but I really wish that they were legally classified as not human so that you could just hit them with a bus. That would be great, because they offer nothing. They add nothing to the world. They only subtract. They make places that used to be fun, that used to be enjoyable for readers, secondhand bookstores, the 2 used book shelves in your charity shop, your library book sale. They make those places that used to be just pure fun. We're going to go to the shop on Saturday. We're going to get a group of friends together. It's going to be so much fun. And you find one of these creatures mindlessly scanning the shelves, blocking the shelves, strong-arming whole shafts of books off the shelves so that they can scan them privately on the floor in the shop. And the shop owners and the library directors and the friends of the library and whatnot, for some God-unknown reason, they do nothing about it. Nothing about it at all. You can identify these creatures immediately by their scanners. They don't know anything about books. The 2 of them that I have found, I haven't extensively looked, the 2 of them that I have found who've actually had the nerve to have BookTube channels make it clear when they hold up the latest books that they scammed from the Goodwill, that they don't have any idea what books are. And they're not interested in learning. All they know is that they can flip them for a profit on eBay. But because they don't know anything about books, they have to use the apps on their phones to scan ISBNs. The barcode in the back of a book. They need to scan those things, otherwise they're hopeless. And that means it's easy to identify who is one of them. They have no use for a library book sale without their phones. So it's easy to identify them. Just tell them to move along. Or you'll call the police. Or you'll invite them to a back room to talk about it. And when they're in the back room with you, maybe once the surveillance cameras can't track them anymore, you'll have a library volunteer bludgeon them to death and drop their bodies in a dumpster. Is that a bit of wishful thinking? I'm trying to say it's an inconvenience to all readers out there that is easily preventable. And yet no one prevents it. But anyway, then we have Thomas Page. This is a novel called The Spirit. I got this just because it looked really cheesy and hokey for Garb August, and did not realize until I was talking about it on camera for the inevitable book haul that this is a Bigfoot novel. The creature involved in this book is Sasquatch. You could imagine that. Then we have a couple of other Oxford World Classics. This is a volume of The Venerable Bede and a volume called The Anglo-Saxon World, an anthology. 2 Oxford World Classics that go with the Carlisle because they don't belong in here. They belong in the little book room. Okay, then another mass market paperback. This is in perfect condition. I'm not sure how readable it would be just for the type font size. But this also belongs in the little book room. This is The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William Shirer in a mass market. An absolutely riveting book, no matter how big it is. This paperback is 1,500 pages. So, War and Peace length. But absolutely riveting the whole time. Okay, then we have a romance. Oh, goodness, there's a bookcase behind me that's all romance. This belongs there. This is one of the old Harlequin intrigues. Midnight Manhattan Heat in the Dangerous Men series. So that needs to go aside, too, because that's not going back here. That is a romance novel. Let's see here. Then a mass market Penguin, Take Your Girl Like You by Kingsley Amis. Fairly laddish, predictable humor, but with wonderful turns of phrase. I grabbed this because I never see any Kingsley Amis, any of his fiction, anyway. At least in the used book circles where I go. I shouldn't have grabbed it because these old Penguins don't hold up. This will break apart into chunks the minute I try to read it. Okay, then we have old science fiction. This is Richard Cowper, Time Out of Mind. I love this author. Wish that I had more of him than I do. I think this might be the only one that I have. We have A.E. Van Vogt, The Winged Man. Let's see, does this count? Oh, we've got some original artwork there. Incredibly hokey. Let's see, does this count for Rocket Summer? Oh, it does, yes. This book is 1966, but the thing was written in 1944. This certainly counts, absolutely. Okay, then we have illustrations. This is a mass market fantasy book called Black Mark by the great comic book artist Gil Kane. He did a comic strip called Black Mark. Did a lot of it. This book is only a fraction of what he did with these characters in this world that he invents. Once upon a time, I had a complete Black Mark with none of this break it up into panels and chop up the narrative, but rather the whole of the sequence. And I don't have those anymore. This is the only Black Mark that I have. Okay, and finally, another Oxford World Classics. This is Vanity Fair by Thackeray. This is one of probably my favorite edition when it comes to illustrations and annotations. It does not belong out here. This belongs in the little book room. There's no rule that says there are no mass market paperbacks in the little book room. Yeah, so this has to be set aside. All these Oxfords do. But I'm noticing that we're at the 12-minute mark. That is all of the next pile here. We're at the 12-minute mark, and I am now faced with the unbelievable temptation to try to finish Bookcase 3 today. So let's do that. Let's hope for another block or two and do that. Like, for instance, we can start with a block of 2. These are 2 science fiction novels by Larry Niven, Hole in Space and Tales of Known Space. So 2 collections of stories, I believe. These are 2 anthologies of stories, and I think they both qualify for Rocket Summer. Yeah, well, no. No, oh, too bad. Hole in Space is a collection of short stories, and I was looking for when the paperback came out. It came out too late. It came out in near the mid-70s. So I thought, okay, what if you squeeze by on a technicality like with the A.E. Van Vogt? Maybe some of the short stories came out earlier than that, but they're all from the 70s. So this one doesn't count. But Tales of Known Space, I think, does. Let's there's more artwork. Look at that. This is definitely going to count. Oh no, 1975. That can't be right. Oh, let's look at the pieces themselves. Okay, the pieces themselves that are reprinted in here, almost all of them are from the 1960s. There's only one that isn't. So that might count if I ever am seized with an urge to read lots and lots of Larry Niven. Then we have this. I found this just the other day. This is an old Signet classic of The Captain's Courageous, which belongs with all the other Signet classics. Let's put that aside. Also found this the other day, Touch Not the Cat by Mary Stewart, and reread it. This old paperback, I honestly didn't think. Usually when you get mass market paperbacks, you're going to be able to make it out, that have these little wrinkles on the spine. Usually that means they're not long for this world. But this one held up just fine. The binding held up just fine. The book was terrible. Then we have Through a Glass Darkly. This is a big, terrific, old historical romance novel. One of the rare examples of a crossover romance novel. This was brought out and did well with a non-romance crowd. which I guess explains why it's over here instead of on the aforementioned romance bookcase. Oh, but this is just a straight up romance. Sandra Hill, My Fair Viking. She's got him tied to the mast there. This definitely goes over there. It goes with the romance books. Let's put that with the Harlequin intrigue. Then we have Little Drummer Girl with Little Drummer Schmutz all over it. Are you fixable? Oh, no, you're not really fixable. What I really need is a new box of alcohol wipes. They are miracles, and I have not got one yet. I ran straight through the last one that I had, and my surly houseboy has not replaced it. Well, anyway, this is Little Drummer Girl in a great mass market paperback here. This will hold up to a reread. Wish I could find a lot more Le Carré, but this sticker residue, that will come right off with an alcohol wipe, and you won't have to worry about eating into the cover. Okay, then we have another huge block here. Great, fantastic. Oh, this is going to be easy. This next block is Philip Jose Farmer. There are 2 copies of A Private Cosmos, one with a printing defect and one without. It's not your eyes, but I should. Then 2 Hawks from Earth. All these great covers of his in mass market. I saw a bunch of these and grabbed them. Maker of Universes. The Gates of Creation. And finally, the Lava Light World. So I have only one, I think, of these. These are. Oh, you got schmutz on you too. These are all World of Tears books, and I think I have only one left in these old mass markets to find somewhere. I'm not going to remember which one it is. Obviously, I'm not going to remember which ones I have and don't have. So the next time I see a batch of them, I'll just grab them all and eventually weed out the doubles. Then we have a mass market paperback of, well, I shouldn't keep saying that because these are all mass market paperbacks. This is The Winds of War by Herman Wouk in this old cover. Wish I could find the sequel, War and Remembrance. This is really, really good. This Winds of War, War and Remembrance, and The Caine Mutiny are just about as good as Herman Wouk ever got. Maybe a couple of others, but those 3, just about as good as he ever got. And this is big, epic historical fiction, but it's fantastic. We have Expanded Universe by Robert Heinlein. This is a collection of his deadline prose, nonfiction ruminations and whatnot, letters even. Really good adjunct to all of Heinlein, especially if you're a fan of Heinlein, which at different periods in my life I have been. We have Road Marks by Roger Zelazny, with this great old cover. We have Darini Rising by Catherine Kurtz. This is part of her Darini Chronicles that needs to go with the other Darini Chronicles. These are fantasy historical fiction about a slightly alternate version of medieval England and medieval Wales. Really good stuff. I considerably better than I originally thought they were. I've recently been rereading these after a gap of probably 30 years, and I've been very much enjoying them. And the Brattle Bookshop had a whole bunch of them. Had a whole bunch of these mass market paperbacks. And the copy they had of Darini Rising had a huge rip. The cover wasn't torn, but the artwork was scoured off. There's just a big white patch right about here. Probably somebody fighting with a price tag eons ago. So when I found a perfect condition copy of it, otherwise I grabbed it. Then we have Lynn Carter, Outworlder. This is going to have to go with all the other Lynn Carter stuff that I found. Yeah, there it all is. Good. Let's put it up there. Try to make some sense out of this. That would be good. I will be making sense out of all of this in due time. We have an ace double. This is The Star Wasps by Robert Moore Williams. And then you flip it over and you have a novel by Terry Carr, the great anthologist. Terry Carr wrote science fiction as well. I have very little of it. We have The Infinitive of Go by John Brunner. I have a lot of John Brunner. We came across a huge amount of John Brunner. And I believe I have a lot more. Maybe it'll be here. Maybe it'll be in this pile here. We have West of Honor by Jerry Pournelle. And I have an ebook of his book, The Mercenary. So that's good. We have Gateway by Fred Pohl, with this classic cover that is so classic that the Science Fiction World Classics paperback run that's going on in the UK just kept this cover. This is this Boris Vallejo? Boris Vallejo very seldom did science fiction or fantasy covers that did not have people on them. He was mostly involved in drawing people, but every once in a while he would just do a straight-up technology thing. Yeah, this is Boris Vallejo. Okay. Uh, then A.E. Van Vogt, we have Children of Tomorrow. Just an old, oh my, this is brittle. This will not take a read. 1970. This came out in 1970, so it barely squeaks by for a rocket summer. We have A.E. Van Vogt's great novel, Slam, the only great novel that he wrote, in my opinion. And this is an old paperback with a terrific cover, but this is certainly early enough. Yeah, 1940, copyright 1940. Might be fun to reread Slam. Might be fun to reread a bunch of old science fiction classics. I still haven't worked out how I want to approach science fiction summer, or rocket summer. We'll see. Okay, more John Brunner. This is from This Day Forward. Little thing from Daw, easy to do, easy to get through. We have one of John Brunner's more major novels, Shockwave Rider. I don't have Stand on Zanzibar in this cover, and I don't have The Sheep Look Up, and I want both of them. I want both of them in this particular cover illustrator did all of Brunner's great stuff. Are we told who did the illustrations here? Murray Tinkleman. How singularly unfortunate. But I have this one anyway, and I'll keep an eye out for all the others. Then we have John Brunner, again, The Wrong End of Time. Another Daw paperback. Is this also... Look at that. Is this also a candidate? No, 1971. Too late. Then we have Steve Alton, the author of My Beloved Meg. This is his book, The Lock. You'll never guess what it's about. He tries to do the Meg treatment to the Loch Ness Monster, which is it's pretty tough to do. It's pretty tough to do. It is absolutely not possible at all that megalodons are still alive. And it is absolutely not possible at all that there is any kind of giant monster in Loch Ness. Both of those things are absolutely impossible. So when we talk about his conspiracy theories, and we mention sometimes they'll have a hook that leaves you genuinely questioning, there are no hooks in either of those. There are no hooks. It just isn't possible. That's all. The only thing that gives rise to the modern urban fiction of megalodons surviving is that sometimes, in fact often, people who are unfamiliar with great white sharks will, first of all, not have any idea how long they get, but especially have no idea how big they get, how wide they get. So that when they see one, magnified by the water and also usually by the startled factor of not expecting to see one, they greatly exaggerate mentally the size of the creature. And also megalodon teeth are found. And they look brand new. Okay, but they're not. They're millions of years old. They can easily be determined to be millions of years old. And Loch Ness, I'm guessing there's a migratory sturgeon population. Sturgeon can get quite big, 20 feet long. And they have weird corrugated skin. So when one of them breaks the surface of the water, first of all, it looks like it goes on forever. So if you're not expecting it, and no one is, you're not going to think you're seeing a fish. And second, it's got bumps and ridges. So their skin, their back has bumps and ridges. And you're not going to expect that either from a fish. So, but that's the most that Loch Ness has. It doesn't have a monster, much less a breeding population of monsters. Then we have Donald Stanwood's book, The Memory of Eva Riker. This is a Titanic novel, not in the sense of its size, but in the sense that it's about the Titanic. Oh my goodness! Okay, then we have a science fiction novel. This needs to be elsewhere. There's a whole section of Star Trek fiction. Book Trek is also about to launch. This is Margaret Wander Bonanno. This is Strangers from the Sky. I think one of the best Star Trek novels ever written. This is the old mass market paperback with the folding cover there, but it's well out of place. It belongs with the other Star Trek novels. Here's Smiley's People, another one of these old covers. I'd like to get a lot more of these. I have ebooks of all of Le Carré almost, and I really love the latest edition trade paperbacks, I think from Penguin. They are really nice. But these are neat too. And these are nice and strong. They take a read. Then, oh, goodness gracious. All right, we have Colin Capp, The Chaos Weapon. Standard science fiction, space opera type thing, 1977. And finally, another copy of Startide Rising by David Brin. Notice this one does not say an uplift novel, but it does mention the awards that the book won. And the only reason I point that out is because I remember reading this thing. I bought it when it was brand new in paperback, when it had no awards. It had won no awards. It was not an uplift novel. It was not anything like that. It was just the cover with nothing else. And I read it on a porch on a bright summer, hot summer day, and I thought, this is going to win a lot of awards. This is one of the best science fiction novels I've ever read. And it did, so every other edition adds on something to it. There were then sequels. There was then a whole imaginative universe. You have to mention the awards. But I have different paperbacks of Startide Rising from every moment of that evolution. So somewhere I have a paperback that has nothing at all on it, just the book that I bought. So there you go. 25 minutes. We have finished Bookcase 3. How amazing. How utterly amazing. All right, so we're on to Bookcase 4. Bookcase 3 is the end of all the mass market paperbacks, and that has caused lots of problems. That has made... I'm not usually the Felix Unger, neat freak type, but this has set me off. How disorganized these mass market paperbacks are. I very much want to fix them, but it seems like, for completeness sake, I should probably finish with this room before I do that. So we've got one more bookcase to go to finish with this room. I don't know. I'll mull on it. I'll either stop now and start up again when I've rearranged the mass market paperbacks, now that I can use them all, now that I can touch them all. Or I'll do Bookcase 4, and then I'll do that. Then I'll stop and reorganize everything. I don't know, which we'll see. We'll see which one I do. But I'm going to wrap this up for now. We have finished Bookcase 3. Pop some champagne. I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.